Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 4 of Psycholinguistics. Today we are going to present our presentation about monitoring and repair. Before that, I'm going to introduce my group. There is Aulia Rayu Wilujeng, Desi Kurniawati, Dewi Lestari Ramawati, and me, Andika Pratama Rozak. So without further ado, let's start to the first slide. Introduction. The production of language is the undeniable fact that language does break down and that we often do something to put it right. Successful communication depends on this, and in this chapter we will focus on what speakers do to correct errors in their own speech. This implies that speakers monitor their own speech output in order to detect that an error has taken place and how speakers repair or revise their output. Self-monitoring. One thing speakers want when an error occurs in reciprocal acceptance from listeners when they don't understand something. But sometimes speakers will repair themselves even when the listener does not give any spoken or visual indication that they are not understand. For example, dialogue situations on the telephones. This indicates that speakers carry out monitoring of their own speech as they produce it. But what does it mean? In psycholinguistics, there is an agreement that self-monitoring is part of the speech production system. It serves the repair of speech errors and disfluencies occurring during the process of speech productions. There is a person knows very well how his behavior impacts his environment. For example, there are some aspects of speech that speakers monitor relating to the levels of the production process. For this one, speakers may check whether the message that they are expressing is the one that they want to utter at this stage. There is a better or more logical way of organizing the message. For instance, so I arrive in Rome and Rome airport is not actually in Rome. Something like that. Self-repair. In conversation analysis, repair is the process by which a speaker recognizes a speech error and repeats what has been said with some sort of correction. Also called speech repair, conversational repair, self-repair, linguistic repair, reparation, false start, accommodation, and restart. For example, linguistic repair may be marked by a hesitation and an editing term such as I mean, you know, something like that. And the first example, well, I think it's, I think this has gone beyond. Second example, we don't really move. I mean, we'd like to, but my mom is sort of attached to the house.
A branch of applied linguistics is error analysis. Its goal is to investigate features of second language learning by compiling, studying, and analyzing errors made by second language learners. Some researchers distinguish error analysis from transverse analysis, which compare the learner's data with their respective first language, whereas error analysis compares the learner's data with the target language norm and identifies and explains errors accordingly. It is concerned with the compilation, study, and analysis of error made by second language learners, and aims at investigating aspects of second language acquisition. Closely related to error analysis is the concept of interlanguage. According to Stenson used the terms induced error to refer to learners' errors that result more from the classroom situation than from either the students. Incomplete competence in English grammar or first language interference. She points out that errors can easily be caused by the structure of a classroom situation. For instance, by the way a teacher gives definition, explanation, or arrange practice opportunities. Stenson as well as James explain a distinction of induced errors from spontaneously made errors. To scientists, a production of such errors in spontaneous speech is rather doubtful. In the 1960s, error analysis was initially used to analyze second language acquisition. Corder's case study, The Significance of Learned Errors, 1967, had switched scholars' focus from teaching to learning, and therefore away from constructive analysis, behaviorism, and structuralism and toward cognitive psychology. This development coincided with the shift in language teaching toward a communicative approach. Correr proposed, based on understanding of first language acquisition, that second language learners find the target language by hypothesizing and verifying their hypothesis in the same way that children do. This process doesn't happen at random, but rather follows the learner's pre-programmed syllabus, therefore mistakes are unavoidable. Correr coined the phrase transitional competence to describe what has subsequently become a generally accepted and extensively used concept interlanguage CF Slinker 1972, which refer to the learner's individual, dynamic approximation of the target language. Errors, according to this perspective, demonstrate that a learner is actively learning the target language because they occur whenever a hypothesis tested by the learner fails. The learner's initial language, interlanguage, and target language are all ought to influence the language acquisition process in error analysis. As a result, all three language systems have an impact on the kind of error a learner makes. The gap between the interlanguage and target language, however, is regarded as the most important of the three factors. However, the student makes mistakes as a result of the learning process he or she used to find the target language. Inductive mistake studies were conducted for all of these reasons in order to reach generalization regarding errors, interlanguage, and eventually second language learning. Error analysis peaked in the 1970s, but it quickly proved to be ineffective as a research method. It was merely contributing to greater second language acquisition theory and research by the late 1970s, and it continues to do so now. The main goals of error analysis were to identify different types of errors and create error taxonomies. These were designed to be used to describe interlanguage and its growth, or the internal syllabus of the learner. It was necessary to identify common challenges in the acquisition of second language. Error analysis was expected to add a comprehensive understanding of second language learning process based on this foundation, always assuming, as Chomsky did, that there is something akin to language acquisition device. In addition, results were intended to be used for a revision of theories of language learning as well as help to evaluate and improve language teaching. The main achievement of error analysis consists in a change of perspective. To begin with, it allowed learners' mistakes to be seen in a fresh perspective. They were no longer seen inhibitory indicators that needed to be eliminated. Corder 1967. Instead, they were seen as a proof of blah 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 learning processes. Corder 1967 and completely natural parts of second language acquisition. Second, it broadened the view of potential source of errors. Researchers realized that a person's first language isn't the sole or even the most important aspect that can lead to mistake. Common errors in many target languages were detected and they were categorized in a novel method in order to find out why they were made. Errors were distinguished from mistakes or lapses, which are performance errors caused by situational circumstances such as fatigue rather than interlanguage. Only true errors are linked to the interlanguage status or the learner's ability. Interlingual errors, which occur when a target language rule is applied to places where it is not applicable, were distinguished from interlingual errors, which occur when a target language rule is applied to areas where it is not applicable. An utterance that appears right but doesn't convey what the speakers or writer intended it to express, according to the coder. Constant a hidden error. The development of the interlanguage theory also relied heavily on error analysis.
Self-repairs are self-initiated corrections of one's own speech within the same speaking turn. They are a common occurrence in spontaneous speech, and they are caused by linguistic issues such as inability to access lexical items or erroneous pronunciation, lexis, or syntax. Repairs can be partially produced with the related problems of speakers cutting short their speaking in the middle of a word. Speakers can also create hesitation in their discourse by using filled pauses like quiet pauses, and extended parts. So before we discuss further about repairs, let's identify some type of errors in speech. There will be times when the speaker makes an error while creating language. When people are stressed, they are more likely to make mistakes. Anxious, nervous, intoxicated, and fatigued are kind of under stress condition. There are 8 types of speech errors, which is highlighted as the major types. Even though the types of error cover a wide range of semantic terms, there are also basic types of it. And the major types of speech error are anticipation, perseveration, exchange, shift, addition, deletion, substitutions, and blend. Let's take a look at anticipation. Anticipation happens when a later segment takes the place of an earlier segment. For example, we make error bake my bike when the target of the speech is actually take my bike. And then there's perseveration. Perseveration is like the opposite of anticipations, is when an earlier segment replaces a later item. For example, he pulled a tantrum when the target of the speech is actually he pulled a tantrum. Deceive errors is one speech segment disappears from its appropriate location and appears somewhere else. For example, we make error like he decided to hide it when the target is actually he decides to hide it. And then exchange are double shifts. So linguistic unit change place. For example, error getting your model renose and the target getting your nose remodeled. Addition add linguistic material. For example, error we and I, the target is we. And then deletions or omissions leave some linguistic material out. For example, error unanimity of opinion and the target unanimity of opinion. Substitution is one segment is replaced by an intruder. The source of the intrusion is not in the sentence. The error, where is my tennis bat? And the target, where is my tennis racket? The last one is blend. More than one item is being considered during speech production. Consequently, the two intended items fuse together. For example, we made error like that child is looking to be paddled, and the target is actually that child is looking to be spanked or paddled. Now we're back to the self-repair. Repair generally can be drawn into two kinds that are self-initiated repair and other initiated repair. The self-initiated repairs occurs when the speakers themselves consider error in their utterance, which later being repaired, while other initiated repair occurs by cause of the other, such as listener or audiences. It can be directly corrected or appearing sign of the erroneous that allows the speakers to repair it by themselves. Loevelt formulated repair into three. There are different information repair, appropriateness repair, and error repair. Different information repair is the restructuring utterances because of changing mind of the speaker. This happens when the speaker thinks their message effectively conveyed this way. Usually the speaker will stop and restructure his utterances. Next category is appropriateness repair. It occurs when the speakers consider their utterance brings potential ambiguity. It aims to avoid the undelivered message caused by lack of context. And the last type is error repair. This repair was commonly used over analyzed utterances. This repair happens when the speaker considers he made error during the utterance produced in terms of grammatical, phonological, or lexical. Later, the speaker would immediately repair it. In other version, Ali Kazemi classifies types of repairs into 5 groups. The types are classified in order from the simplest to more complicated correction of the erroneous. It is started from the phonological repair, morphological or lexical repair, syntactic repair, context-oriented repair, and ended to the information structuring repair category. Regarded to all theories mentioned, Leveld classified repair based on how the speaker modifies his utterance, considering the context and error he made. Meanwhile, Kazemi classified repair in 5 major types. The types does not differentiate whether it contains error or address information content of utterances. It addresses the focus of repaired utterances in terms of phonological, lexical morphological, synthetic, contextual, or structure of the information conveyed. Phonological, morphological, or lexical and synthetic repair are considered as linguistic repair, which present lower-level types of repair use. Then, context-oriented and information structuring repair are classified as information content repair, which is higher-level types.
Editor theories. The finding that speakers monitor their own speech and correct it as they progress suggests that the editing process occurs during speech production. The exact nature of editor has been a contentious issue. Is it, for instance, a mechanism that is specifically geared to self-monitoring and to the editing of the speaker's own output? This would suggest that self-monitoring is a special part of the speech production process, perhaps involving the speaker in a comparison of what they said with what they intended. On the other hand, is self-monitoring just a specific implementation of a more common monitoring device that is also used when we listen to other speakers? In this case, self-monitoring could operate without persistent reference to what the speaker intended, but might use more general criteria, such as does the output I just heard make sense? According to neuroimaging studies, Indifray 2007 indicate that we actually use similar brain areas in 2 types of self-monitoring, internal and external, as well as in listening to others. The speed of error detection and correction also support the existence of internal as well as external monitoring. The presence of covert repairs reinforces in this suggestion, since in covert repairs the errorful word is not even pronounced. Further evidence comes from experimental studies of speech errors using the sleep technique, as well as phonerism outcomes. The sleep technique often results in partial phonerism, such as side shame for head shame, as well as interrupted and corrected phonerism such as side shame for the same target. Most of the repaired phonerism in this task are very rapid, with an interruption very early in the error. The arguably much earlier than would be compatible with monitoring of and responding to the actual spoken output. Is this interruption and repair in response to lexical or phonetic monitoring of the speaker's own production? That is the repair a response to the realization that the output is not to the word the speaker intended, or indeed not a word at all? Or does it follow from a check of the actual sounds produced against the target sound? One piece of evidence that supports a lexical argument is that there is a greater likelihood that an experimentally induced error will be interrupted if it would have result in a non-word. This has been taken as evidence that there is a quick and dirty general check that the output consists of real words rather than nonsense. So, internal monitoring has access to details of the phonetic plan, which it access without reference to the lexical status of the output. Taboo word. Word taboo, also called taboo language, language taboo, or linguistic taboo, is a kind of taboo that involves restricting the use of word or other parts of language due to social constraints. The experimenters found evidence have the emotional response measure that a taboo word had been accessed. Speakers helping listeners. Speakers are generally also listeners. It is not surprising then to find that there are many aspects to the checking and repairing process that are geared towards making interpretation easier for listeners. So we have seen third way either by repeating a word that came before the error or by using a word from the same grammatical category. Both strategies allow the listener to connect the replacement information efficiently into the preceding material. In addition to producing structure repairs, there are other ways in which speakers help listeners. These provide, as it were, some perceptual constraint on production. Sensitivity to listeners' needs appears to be reflected in the distribution of between-word phonological effect or connected speech process. Connected speech process include effects such as palatalization in English, by which a sequence of the and j, as in which you becomes a palatal affricate the. For example, would. Speakers tend not to allow such between-word phonological effect to occur if they would distort the beginning of a word that listener particularly need to hear more clearly. Speakers tend to pronounce with greater clarity words that are new to the discourse, and to speak less clearly words that convey people, objects, or ideas that have already been introduced into the conversation. This difference in clarity also helps the listener. It is important to hear quite clearly any novel information.
To summarize, in this chapter we have seen first is that speakers monitor their inner speech as well as their spoken output, and the second that there are many different reasons for output monitoring, including the detection of speech error, and the third is that speech production tasks such as network description and experimentally induced error provide rich data on monitoring and repair, and fourth is that speakers detect and repair errors in their speech efficiently and rapidly, and the last is that the structure manner in which repairs are carried out is one way in which speakers help listeners. Rather than it simply being that the putting right that counts, it is the principal way in which the putting right happens that really counts. That's all about our presentation. If anyone has questions, feel free to ask. We will do our best to answer them. And I would like to thank you for your time and attention. I hope that our presentation is helpful for all of you that watching this video. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.